Some love stories don't begin with fireworks, they begin with whispered promises in hidden corners, and end with silence. But what if fate brings those promises back years later, in a different city, with a second chance to choose love again? This is the story of Fatou and Luc, two young hearts separated by expectation, reunited by destiny. Welcome to Life Unwritten. Fatou and Luc met as young teenagers at an exclusive international school in London, a haven for the children of diplomats and foreign dignitaries. Fatou, the daughter of a high-ranking Congolese diplomat and a devoutly religious mother, had been raised under strict expectations. Her family was deeply respected within their church community, and her father's position meant that reputation was everything. Any deviation from the path set for her was unthinkable. Luc, the son of a Luxembourgish government councillor, carried his own burdens. His future was already decided: elite schooling, diplomatic training, and a seamless transition into politics. But beneath the weight of expectation, he longed for something real, something beyond duty. Their connection was instant and undeniable. What started as friendly conversations in the school library over history books and literature turned into something deeper. They bonded over their shared love of art, travel, and philosophy, often spending hours discussing their dreams of a life outside the rigid structures imposed on them. To disguise their growing relationship, they joined group outings and class trips, using them as an excuse to explore together. Whenever they visited European cities, they carved out time for one another. In Paris, they sat on the steps of Montmartre, shared crepes near the Eiffel Tower, and whispered dreams beneath the glow of street lamps by the Seine. In Amsterdam, they cycled along the canals, laughing breathlessly as they raced to the Anne Frank house before closing time. In Rome, they threw coins into the Trevi fountain together, each secretly wishing for the same future. In Barcelona, they wandered through Parc Güell, fingers brushing, hearts full. In Brussels, they visited the Grand Place and ate Belgian waffles in silence, knowing that their time together was fleeting. These moments, scattered across the continent, built a quiet history, a love story hidden in plain sight. Back in London, they met under the pretext of study sessions in Hyde Park, where Luc would read poetry aloud, teasing Fatou for pretending not to enjoy it. In the school library, they exchanged notes filled with inside jokes and half-confessed feelings, their hands brushing as they passed them between each other. Every moment was a quiet rebellion against the lives they were expected to live. By the time they were in their late teens, their love was no longer something they could deny. But life had other plans. Luc's father was suddenly caught up in a high-level diplomatic fallout, leading Luxembourg to close its embassy in the UK without warning. Luc was sent home immediately, without a chance to prepare or properly say goodbye. In the days that followed, he tried desperately to contact Fatou. He wrote letters, handwritten and heartfelt. He called her mobile and landline repeatedly. But everything stopped at the border of parental control. His father, intent on breaking the relationship and restoring Luc's focus, intercepted the letters, blocked the calls, and confiscated his phone for months. Luc was sent to a remote boarding school in Switzerland shortly after, where communication was limited and heavily monitored. It wasn't sinister, it was calculated, paternal, and wrapped in the belief that Luc was being protected from distraction. Luc tried again once he gained more independence at university, but by then Fatou had vanished, her number changed, her home address no longer valid. He searched online, asked old classmates, even visited London a few times, but he found nothing. Meanwhile, Fatou faced her own storm. When she discovered she was pregnant, she clung to the hope that Luc would return. But time passed. Silence lingered. When she finally told her family, the fallout was swift and brutal. "You have shamed us," her father said, his voice cold and unrelenting. "There is no place for you in this house." Her mother, torn between love and duty, looked away. Fatou was cut off. Stripped of her home, her security, and the privileged world she had known, she was left to fend for herself. Juggling multiple jobs while pursuing her studies, she built a life for herself and her child, Nathan. But despite everything she achieved, there was always a shadow of longing, a silent ache for the man who should have been by their side. As Nathan grew older, his questions became harder to answer. "Why don't I have a granddad and grandma like my friends?" he asked one day. Fatou forced a smile. "It's complicated, mon cœur." "And my dad?" Nathan asked another time. "Did he not want us?" Fatou's heart ached. "He didn't know about us." And that was the truth. Now in her early 30s and working as an assistant event manager at a luxury hotel in London, Fatou was overseeing a high-profile function when a familiar voice called her name. She turned and found herself face-to-face with an old schoolmate from the international school. "You haven't changed at all," her friend laughed. "We're having a reunion in 2 weeks. You must come." Reluctantly, Fatou agreed. The event was held in a private venue, polished, elegant, and filled with the hum of nostalgia. There were old songs, shared memories, and laughter that cut across the years. Then, across the room, she saw him. Luc. Older, more composed, but unmistakably him. Their eyes locked. The years collapsed. Luc approached with hesitation and hope. "Fatou." She stiffened. "You left." "I never meant to," he said, his voice quiet but urgent. "I never got your letters. My father blocked everything. I tried to find you. I never stopped trying." Before she could respond, a small voice broke the tension. "Mum." Luc turned. A boy no older than 10 stood beside her, his own eyes staring back at him. Who is this?" Luc asked, his voice trembling. Fatou's expression was guarded. "His name is Nathan." Luc's breath caught. "His?" She nodded. Luc knelt before Nathan, visibly shaken. "Nathan. I didn't know. If I had." Nathan looked to his mother, then back at Luc. "Are you really my dad?" Luc nodded. "Yes. And I want to know you. I want to be there, if you'll let me." Nathan stared for a moment, thinking. Then he asked, "Do you like football?" Luc gave a shaky laugh. "I love football." Nathan gave a slight shrug. "Okay then." It was not a reunion. It was a beginning. And for Luc, that was enough. Luc didn't demand his place in their lives, he earned it. He spent months getting to know Nathan, showing up consistently at school events, park visits, quiet dinners. He listened. He respected boundaries. He made it clear he was not just there for Fatou, but for the family they should have had all along. But the biggest hurdle was still ahead, introducing Nathan to his own family and helping Fatou face hers. Luc started with his parents. He brought them photos. He told them the full truth, not just about Nathan, but about how much Fatou had meant to him then and still did. He challenged their silence. "It's time you meet the boy who carries our name," he told them. There were arguments. resistance. But Luc stood his ground. Over time, the walls cracked. Curiosity led to dialogue, and dialogue led to acceptance. Then, Luc wrote to Fatou's father. It was a long letter, handwritten, where he apologized not just for his absence, but for the pain it had caused. He asked for permission to organize a gathering. Not to beg, but to reconnect. With cautious agreement from both sides, Luc arranged a family reunion, a quiet event in a neutral space, with food, music, and no expectations. Fatou's father arrived stiffly, her mother nervous. At first, the conversation was stilted. The air was thick with old wounds and unspoken regrets. But then, slowly, carefully, the past was addressed. "We were wrong," her mother finally said, eyes brimming with tears. "We thought we were protecting our family's name, but we lost our daughter in the process." It was not an easy reconciliation. It would take time. But it was a start. And then, in front of everyone, Luc knelt before Fatou. "No more stolen time," he said, holding out a ring. "No more regrets. Just us, however long it takes." Tears welled in Fatou's eyes as she looked around at her son, at the families trying to mend what was broken. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope. And she said yes. Sometimes, the heart remembers what the mind tries to forget. And when the timing is right, love has a way of finding its way home. If you believe in second chances, leave a red heart hash in the comments, and don't forget to share and subscribe for more stories of life, love, and everything in between right here on Life Unwritten.